Hi guys, thanks for joining me today for my live stream. My name is Ksenia Turkova, and I see already that there are a lot of people watching. I'm actually shocked by the amount of people watching me now. Let me know, please, if you hear me well and if you see me well. Please type this in the chat so I can understand that I'm on air and everything is okay. Thanks again for watching me today, and special thanks to Ryan Macbeth who spread a word about my live stream. I actually didn't expect that so many people will be watching. And again, as I said before, I think I've never had that many viewers on a live stream on my YouTube channel. And I hope you will like it and you will stay. Can hear just fine. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I see a lot of messages in the chat, but I apologize in advance if I won't be able to read all of them because the chat is moving faster than I can read. And actually, someone noticed that already. So I definitely will read some questions from you guys, but only some of them because you understand for obvious reasons. Since I assume that there are a lot of new viewers today, and some of you guys don't know me well and have no idea who I am, so I will tell, although I didn't plan it, I will tell you a couple of words about myself, just a couple of minutes. My name is Ksenia Turkova. I'm a journalist for Voice of America here in Washington, D.C., and I'm a journalist with the Russian and Ukrainian background. I lived in Russia till 2013, and I was a host for a number of private TV channels and radio stations. And then in 2013, right before the Revolution of Dignity, I moved to Ukraine, and I worked there as a radio host and as a TV host and as an executive producer of one of the TV channels. So I spent there almost 5 years, and after that, I got a job offer from Voice of America, and I moved to the United States. I'm also a linguist. I'm PhD in philology, which is literature and language. So that's why I usually analyze a lot of texts, like different political speeches, and I mostly concentrate on analyzing events from the point of view of the language. That's why today I will talk a lot about different memes and different jokes and about different expressions, because and I think you've seen them already. There were a lot of jokes and memes about the situation with Mr. Prigozhin. So I will share with you some of the most popular Russian jokes and Ukrainian jokes, and I will try to translate them for you. And it's a very actually important part, because sometimes, not even sometimes, usually the memes, they can tell us a lot about the situation, because it's some kind of concentration of the event in the meme or in some kind of joke or expression. They can show us a lot, and that's why it's important to cover it as well, not only just news. What a weekend! What a weekend! I've been covering this Prigozhin story since Friday evening, and I'm actually tired. I'm worn out, absolutely, because I've been covering it, as I said, since Friday evening, and then I woke up on Saturday. I almost didn't sleep, 5 a.m. in the mornings, for doing my live stream for Voice of America with a bunch of experts, and we discussed the situation on air while Prigozhin was moving towards Moscow. And today I woke up again very early at 6 o'clock, and I again went live for Voice of America for a couple hours and talked to different experts about Belarus and stuff like that. So I will share with you what I know. Someone is mentioning popcorn, and You guys are right. Actually, one of the jokes about this situation was that the United States will send $3 million to Ukraine for popcorn, but apparently they just started using that popcorn because the story ended very, very quickly. So let me start with some news summary. Actually, not much news today for today's morning. We don't know much. Yesterday the day was full of news. So what we have today, briefly about how Prigozhin's rebellion ended and what is known by this minute. The night before, I will just remind you, Alexander Lukashenko's press service announced the end of the negotiations with Yevgeny Prigozhin. So he announced the end, what we never heard about the beginning of those negotiations. And he said they lasted all day and were held in coordination, of course, with Vladimir Putin. After that, Prigozhin published an audio message in which he said he was turning the columns and going to the camps according to the plan, going to his base. Let me say a couple of words about this expression, according to the plan. As you remember, when Putin started the war, when he announced the war against Ukraine, a so-called special operation in the new Russian language, newspeak, they've been using this expression a lot, all the time. Everything is going according to the plan. So first of all, they said they will capture Kyiv in 3 days. It never happened, but they kept saying that everything was going according to the plan. And whatever happened, they lost Kherson and other regions they already occupied. They stepped back from Snake Island or whatever. And in any situation, they kept saying everything is according to the plan. So it's one of the main propaganda, not even narratives, I would say, like a mantra, like a propaganda mantra. And now we see Prigozhin using this mantra. He says everything is according to the plan. And we can guess only by this expression that everything is according to probably Putin's plan, but not Prigozhin's plan or someone else's plan, because this phrase can tell us a lot. So that was just a small remark. After that, Prigozhin published, as I have already said, he published an audio message. And after that, the Kremlin said the criminal case against Prigozhin would be dropped and he himself would go to Belarus. And again, the way they worded it, it was very interesting. They said, there is a difference in how they worded it in English and in the Russian language, because Peskov said Prigozhin, they will drop this criminal case, and Prigozhin will go to Belarus, уйдет в Беларусь in the Russian language. So it's the same thing as in English, go and уйти somewhere. But also in Russian language, the whole expression go to Belarus, уйти в Беларусь. In the Russian language, it sounds like something like to drift off into the sunset. You understand what I mean? So now it became a meme immediately to go to Belarus or to drift off to Belarus. And now everybody is using that meme, and it became a synonym like to disappear. And it's actually, again, this small expression, a meme, can tell us much more about the situation than maybe some news, some TV shows. Because to drift off to Belarus, to go to Belarus, уйти в Belarus, to drift off to the sunset, it means to vanish, to disappear. And we see that Prigozhin actually vanished. He disappeared. Nobody had seen him, after that happened. And we can only guess what is going on. Well, they say that he is somewhere now where the coverage is poor. That's why he cannot record any messages or go on air or call someone. So nobody actually, but that's what we know from from the press service, from the third source, but not from Prigozhin himself. So nobody knows where he is, and he vanished. And by this expression, he will go to Belarus. We can guess that Prigozhin should be now very cautious, because a lot of experts I've talked to yesterday and today, after what happened, after he turned back, they say that now he's in danger, and 99% that Putin will try to get rid of him. And again, so the participants of the Wagner group began to leave yesterday. They began to leave Rostov-on-Don, and people saw them off. They saw them off with applause. And again, you saw those people greeting Wagnerians stepping back. And also a lot of people on Facebook, my friends, journalists, they noticed again that parallel between how Putin wanted to be greeted in Ukraine, when he wanted to capture Kyiv in 3 days. And he was thinking, and actually a lot of people in Russia, because of propaganda, were thinking that people will greet them. People in Ukraine will be glad to be liberated. For some reason, they were thinking like that, although there was no base for that, no reason. I can tell you, as a person who lived in Ukraine and who knows the situation really well, because I lived there, and I keep very strong connection to the Ukrainian expert community, and with media community, and with my friends. So Putin wanted people to greet him and to greet his soldiers. But what do we see now? People in Rostov-on-Don are greeting Wagner Group exactly the same way as Putin wanted to be greeted in Ukraine. What can this tell us? That people don't want Putin, actually. Maybe subconsciously, some of them, but they are tired of Putin. They want someone else to be on his place. They are tired of the corrupt government, and so on. And they show it by this gesture. It's another question whether they go on the streets, or whether it will be another rebellion and stuff like that. They say that Russians are so lazy that they even ordered a war delivery. There was one of the jokes about Prigozhin. So the protest potential in Russia is still on the very low level. It's on the very low level. But by this gesture, again, as I said, we can see that people are really tired of Putin. So in Voronezh and Lipetsk regions, the restrictions were lifted and transport began to run as usual. In Moscow, the counter-terrorist operation mode has not yet been lifted, and they say they are going to announce it soon, very soon. And one interesting thing, Russia has not officially announced casualties. So no, Ministry of Defense, Russian state TV, nobody is talking that someone was killed or wounded, no casualties. But patriotic Telegram channels are writing about them. I mean pro-war Telegram channels, those who are supporting the war, not the opposition ones. So Telegram channel close to the Ministry of Defense, Rybar, claims that more than 20 pilots who were on board the downed planes and helicopters were killed. According to that channel, we can talk about at least 7 helicopters and planes. Patriotic publication, also Telegram channel Ridovka, or media, I don't know how to call it, actually, website and Telegram channel, writes about 15 dead, including 8 people who were on board the air control point at the base of the Il-18. Telegram channel Fight Bomber, which reported aircraft down during the mutiny, announced 13 dead. So anyway, we see that the Telegram channels, patriotic pro-war Telegram channels, they're trying to tell the truth. And by the way, they're criticizing official propaganda a lot. a lot. So we can see this how these two groups are drifting apart, and that process actually started far earlier. Now we just can see it. It became more obvious, and we can only guess what can happen between that Russian TV, who just they're just servants. They tell what they are told to say on air, because they are changing their views. They don't have any views at all, but they're just serving the government. So today they will tell them that Wagner Group is good. The next day they will tell them Wagner Group is bad, and they will obediently tell you everything that they are being told to say. But Telegram is not under Kremlin control yet. They have some influence on the Telegram channels in Russia, but still it's one of the resources that is still not controlled by Kremlin, like all the media in Russia are, and some other social media. But Telegram channels are not controlled, fully controlled by Kremlin. So those turbo patriots, how they call them, they will try to tell the truth while the state TV is staying silent. Let me look before I go to the next part of the live stream. Thanks for watching me again. I see that a lot of people, more people than on Voice of America, are watching me today now. Do you believe Russia will tighten government restrictions on social media? Thank you for the question. I think they will. Let me put it this way. On the one hand, I think they definitely will tighten the restrictions, but on the other hand, I don't know, like in which area. Maybe Telegram channels, because again, it's not fully controlled by Kremlin yet. But all other areas are already severely restricted. So I don't know to what extent it's everything is already restricted, almost forbidden. So there is no much room for those restrictions, but I definitely think that they will do something. There will be some restrictions, not only on social media, but maybe some new laws, or maybe some military restrictions. But definitely after something like that, they put restrictions on the Russian people. Traditional media has not been able to keep up with this. Are you talking about traditional, like, normal media or propagandist media in Russia? They didn't even want to keep up. They were waiting for the signals from their owner. Until they don't get a signal, they won't tell you anything. And that's why on Friday night, it was late night in Europe and in Russia, almost all channels except the first Russian channel First, and NTV, the channel I worked for 22 years ago, and it was the best Russian TV channel ever, news TV channel. But it became just a trash can for Kremlin. That's very sad. So only NTV and Channel First, they went on air with two short news messages, and I will, by the way, if you asked me about that, I will tell you a couple of words about that, like how Russian propaganda reacted. And it's very interesting that before that coup d'etat attempt, Prigozhin was blacklisted. I even recorded a small video for my YouTube channel. You can find it on my channel. I was talking about that Prigozhin, his name is forbidden on Russian TV. And that's true. Some investigative journalists came to that conclusion because they watched a bunch of TV shows, and it was actually quite easy to notice. So nobody mentioned Prigozhin. They might mention ЧВК Wagner, that private military group company, but they didn't mention Prigozhin. He was like Navalny. That's the irony of fate, you know. He was. They never mentioned Navalny on air, and Putin was always replacing his name by different expressions like Berlin patient or that guy, a famous blogger or something like that. And now we had exactly the same case with Prigozhin. They didn't utter his name. But what we've seen after that rebellion, they started saying his name. And while watching those news on first TV channel, Russian state TV channel, and NTV, I heard the name Prigozhin many times because they were giving some updates. So the first TV channel went on air twice at 1 a.m. in the morning, 1 and something, and at 2 a.m. in the morning. And it was like a small review of the situation. The host was Ekaterina Andreeva. It's a I don't know how to explain it to you. It's like legendary, not in a good way, a Russian host who has been on air, has been a host for decades already. And she is like a mouth of Russian propaganda. So she's not, she doesn't have her own YouTube channel or social media like Margarita Simonyan, for example, the head of RT Russia Today. She's just a mouth of propaganda. So she says whatever they put into her head or on the prompter in front of her, and she's doing it. She has been doing it for decades, as I said. So she's like a symbol, like that Soviet presenter. Soviet presenter, but she's not Soviet, she's Russian presenter, but the Soviet style presenter who just reads the text. So they, as far as I know from my sources in the Russian media, they said that they knew already they will go on air, they would go on air at night. So they asked people to stay till 1 a.m., till 2 a.m. But they were just staying, waiting for the signal. You guys can go on air and say this. Here's your script. And the script was given. And when I watched that, the news on Channel First and then on NTV, the script was exactly the same. Maybe the words a little bit different here and there, but in general, absolutely the same structure, the same words, the same speakers, the same expressions they use. So it was just a script from the government, from the Ministry of Defense, from the Putin's administration or whatever, and they just read that script. And I could tell by just how the way the guy on NTV, the young guy, the host, I don't know him, he was reading that script, and he was obviously very stressed. Ekaterina Andreeva was not stressed at all because she's just a statue. She's just a TV statue, and she was telling whatever she was told to tell people on air. And other channels, they showed just a line on the bottom of the screen saying like what happened, very in one sentence, something like that, and that was it. Also on some channels, those news on Channel First and then TV, that those special news edition, they were continued by the documentaries about Silvio Berlusconi or about the caviar production. So it was so absurd. If you watch those channels, like a 5-minute news reading that script from Ministry of Defense or from Russian government, and then a documentary about caviar. Or some drama, some TV series or something like that. That's how it looked like. So people could get real information only from the Telegram channels, I think. Let me go again to the chat. Let me go again to the chart. A modern day Swan Lake on repeat. Thank you for that message, Rob. I will comment on Swan Lake in a minute. And Joe is asking, will the Wagner Group fully return to Ukraine? Are they under new leadership? I think if we are talking about the future of the Wagner Group, what I know from different experts I talked to today, they say they won't go to Ukraine. They will be highly likely just disbanded in Russia. So the Wagner Group won't exist anymore. Maybe some parts of Wagner Group will be in Belarus. But again, what are they going to do there? It's a big question. We don't know. So highly likely, according to the different analysts, that Wagner Group will be disbanded. So let me go back, because I've written a little plan for you guys to follow this plan, because I don't want to skip anything, and I want to tell you all the most interesting things. So let's go back to Swan Lake. Swan Lake. I promised you to comment on this. For those who don't know about the Swan Lake and what do we mean, the thing is that Russian state television often ignores news that are considered to be like inconvenient, and it was a very common practice for them. Actually, during 1991 coup attempt, Soviet television showed a tape of the ballet Swan Lake, and forever bending the image of the dance of the little swans to political situation, like the fail of some regime. And here we go to the point I was going to cover first. Actually, everything got a little bit disorganized, but I hope you will forgive me. So there was a lot of expectations and a lot of hope when Prigozhin started his rebellion. I've talked to my friends in Russia and Russian friends who recently relocated because of the war, and almost all of them were ready to open a bottle of champagne, because they were constantly like scrolling their phones, reading the news, and they were full of hope. That's why I say that Russians are lazy. They are waiting for the war delivery, or they're waiting for the coup d'etat delivery. So they were full of hope. They were hoping that Putin's regime will fail, but it didn't happen. And you know what? One of the most popular pictures, I will try to post it in the comments to this video. I'm actually going to record a separate video about different memes to show you those memes, but I need some time for that. So one of the most popular Russian memes in the Russian social media was a picture of a cult Soviet TV host, Nikolai Drozdov, who he used to be a TV host, a host of TV show about animal life, and everybody likes him. He's super nice. Children, adults, people got used to him. He was like a family member for everybody. So there was a picture on social media yesterday with Nikolai Drozdov with his nice face, like looking curiously at something, some nature object, and the words were, let's not disturb them, let's just watch them. And what it means, he meant, not him, but this meme means that we were watching some battle between two bad creatures. That's the main sense of this meme. So the Putin is bad and Prigozhin is bad. As my Ukrainian friends say, we were for we actually, I forgot I'm sorry, sometimes I have a linguistic breakdown. I forgot the right word, but they were for two teams, so they were watching two teams and they wish both of them will win. That was just a joke from Ukraine. So that's how they were looking at the events in Russia. They were full of hope. I mean, not in Russia, but Russian people in different countries, anti-war people, of course, and how they looked at that event in Ukraine on the other side. A lot of people, again, were full of hope, exactly as those Russian people I have already mentioned. But some Ukrainians, and actually a lot of Ukrainians, were skeptical because they know they went through different revolutions. They know actually what does it mean, a revolution or changing the president or something like that, like regime change. They know that. So they were skeptical, quite skeptical about that. But as far as I understood from what different experts say, once Putin gave his address, once Putin appeared on TV and addressed to people and called Prigozhin a traitor, said he betrayed like the mission of Russia and stuff like that. After that, they believed it was serious because they saw that battle between Putin and Prigozhin, and they saw that Putin was obviously humiliated by that. And everybody says he is actually humiliated, and nobody ever has humiliated him like Prigozhin did. Let me look again in the chat. Thanks for watching me. So does this mean I'm reading the random messages? Please understand me. Don't be mad at me if I don't see your question, because a lot of questions. Does this mean the Wagner Group is now a Belarusian PMC, or is Prigozhin just living in Belarus now? Burger Dan is asking. Nobody knows. We will see in the near future, because for now it's first of all, it's difficult to say where Prigozhin is. Again, he disappeared. We don't know. We have no idea. And after I answer this question, I will talk about Lukashenko's role a little bit more. So we don't know where Prigozhin is, and we don't know anything about the future of the Wagner Group. Maybe some part of the Wagner Group will stay in Belarus. But what are they going to do with them again? How they're going to use them? And actually, 3 years ago, Lukashenko, before his presidential campaign, if you remember, he was bragging that he captured 33 Wagner soldiers in some forests in Belarus, and he said that they came to destabilize the situation in Belarus before the presidential elections, and after that, as you remember, the mass protests started in Belarus. By the way, a small remark again from me as a linguist. Thank you for. I'm talking to our viewer Burger Den now. Thanks for spelling Belarusian the way you spelled it. And I want to point out that it's not correct to use the adjective Belarusian instead of Belarusian, because the name of the country is Belarus. It's not some kind of Russia. It's not Belarus anymore. For more than 30 years already, because it's the Soviet Union collapsed more than 30 years ago. So no Belarus, no some kind of Russia. It's Belarus. It's an official name, and I do believe that the English adjective must be Belarusian. I say only Belarusian, not Belarusian. It's not politically correct, and actually it's not grammatically correct anymore. But most of all, it's not politically correct. So, and it might be even offensive for people from Belarus. So just keep it in mind. So let's talk about Belarus and Lukashenko. By the way, how do you call Lukashenko? It's interesting for me. What kind of words do you use? Because we discuss it a lot with my colleagues on Voice of America, and we came to the conclusion that we're not calling him a leader or a Belarusian president because the elections were basically stolen from Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, and it's proven. And he's not a leader for his nation because too many people don't want him to be their leader. So he's not a leader. And what do we call him? I call him just Alexander Lukashenko. That's it. Some media I know call him a dictator, but I think it's very like emotional, more emotional. Well, he is a dictator, but if you write for the news, I would say just Alexander Lukashenko. That's how I call him. So, what was his role? Today, guys, I had an interview with a Belarusian expert, a very good Belarusian journalist, Zmitser Lukashuk. We are friends since I lived in Ukraine because we were colleagues, and so he moved out of Belarus after the mass protests, and he lives in Poland, in Warsaw now. So he went on air with me, and we talked about Lukashenko, and that was hilarious. The way I wish you understand Russian to watch Zmitser, who was talking about Lukashenko. That was very funny, and he said that actually it's highly likely that Lukashenko was not even involved in the negotiations, as Zmitser said that maybe Lukashenko was on his dacha. A dacha, it's like a country house, a Soviet country house. Maybe he was on his dacha, like planting potatoes, and then Putin called him, say like, go and announce that you are a peacemaker, and you made this deal with Prigozhin, and everything is okay. And Lukashenko got like, great, I love to be a peacemaker, because he really loves to be a peacemaker in different conflicts. He loves this role, and so he was just happy to help in this situation, but he was not negotiating like for the whole day with Prigozhin. That's just an assumption, just a guess. So we don't know how it was, but it was just an assumption. And as I said, Lukashenko likes being a peacemaker. He loves this role, so he was happy to be involved. But again, what is going to be next? There are a lot of questions, a lot of questions, and Putin. But actually, Putin looks again weak in this situation. So Lukashenko looks like a peacemaker. I saw a great picture today, like an angry, like a peace dove with this branch in the mouth with the face of Lukashenko. It's a very funny picture. So Putin looks again. He looks weak. He looks weak in the situation in the conflict with Prigozhin. He looks weak in this Lukashenko scenario, because Lukashenko looks like a peacemaker again, and everybody looks better than Putin. So that was about Belarus. Let me look in the chat again. Thanks for explanation. Thank you again. Big thanks. Thank you for watching. Where is Shoigu and Gerasimov? Were they on the tracked plane? Again, we don't know exactly where they are. Apparently, Gerasimov showed up in Rostov-on-Don, but actually they didn't went public after what happened. And that is again a big question. We will see. I think they are deciding now, like what to tell people, what scenario to choose, and what to do. And in some time, we will see. We will see where they are, and we will see what is going on. So, just a second. I will grab some water. I had so much coffee those days. Olive branch and its yes, that's thank you so much. And you should find this picture with Lukashenko's face. It looks hilarious. Russia is known, Ronald is asking, Russia is known for its disinformation campaigns in the West. In what degree is the West able and willing to do the same in Russia? Well, I don't think the West is interested in disinformation campaigns in Russia. I do not believe that the West is interested in that. West has a lot of stuff to deal with uh, besides Russia, and it's not a Western approach actually to plant some disinformation in the other countries. But on the other hand, West, I think, is interested to break through this wall of disinformation, of Russian disinformation, and West is interested to get the truthful information, to give it to people in Russia. So the West is interested in some kind of counter propaganda, but I don't think West is interested in the disinformation campaigns. Why do we need to do, again, about disinformation campaigns? Why do we need to do disinformation campaigns in Russia? Yes, that's what what I was talking about. So Prigozhin was just building up his reputation for a future power taking. That's a very, very good question, and now I will talk about it. What actually Prigozhin wanted? Did he really wanted to take a power? Did he really plan a coup d'état? Or maybe he had some different purposes. And the majority of experts now are coming to the conclusion that Prigozhin didn't want to take a power. He didn't want a coup d'etat, but he wanted to. He was somewhat desperate, and he wanted to show it to Putin. Let me quote a political analyst, Tatiana Stanovaya, for you. Prigozhin did not revolt to seize power or march on the Kremlin. Prigozhin rose out of desperation, having been kicked out of Ukraine with no way to keep Wagner fully operational, when virtually the entire state machine is turned against you and Putin ignores you, publicly supporting your most dangerous enemies. The plan was, Tatiana Stanovaya says, to make a lot of noise, get Putin's attention, and bargain for comfortable conditions for a further walk. Your role, security, and money. But I think a lot of Prigozhin's money are in African countries. With such demands, you don't go to overthrow the government. You go for broke in order to save your own business, counting on your merits to play a role, and you will be noticed by the president. So that's according to Tatiana Stanovaya what Prigozhin wanted. Merit did play a role. Prigozhin is allowed to live alive. So a lot of people think he didn't actually wanted to seize the power, although some people saw it like that. And also a lot of people say that, for example, the Ukrainian political analyst Volodymyr Fisenko, he says that both Prigozhin and Putin got scared at some point. So Prigozhin didn't mean to take power. He wanted just to show to show off, to show what he was capable to do, and he saw that he didn't have much support for that. Enough support, I would say. Enough support. And Putin saw the columns going towards Moscow, and he got scared as well. They couldn't take Kyiv in 3 days, and they got almost to Moscow in 1 day. You know, that Wagner group. So they both got scared, and they both stepped back. But on what conditions? That's again the question, and I think we will know more in the next several days. It's too early to say how it was, right? So we will see some details. So who won in this situation? Can we say that someone won this battle? Actually, nobody won, and Prigozhin, as I said, as a lot of people say, highly likely they will get rid of him somehow. And what does it mean now for Putin? Putin is on a very shaky ground now. Volodymyr Zelensky said already that Putin showed himself as a very weak leader in a weak position, and the Western politicians and political analysts, they agree with Zelensky. They say that that situation showed Putin's weakness. Of course, we didn't see the fall of Putin's regime, as some of you maybe expected, but we see maybe the first step of this fall of the regime. We got one step closer because that situation showed again Putin as a very weak person, weak leader, uh, and people's reaction, as I said in the beginning of my live stream in Rostov-on-Don, how people were greeting the Wagner group the soldiers. The next question: how will people's attitude change in Russia? I mean, after what happened, what are they going to think? What are they going to do? Will the attitude towards war change? That's also a very good question. And I talked today, guys, I talked to the author of this book, and I highly recommend you to buy this book. You can find it in Washington D.C. in the bookstores and in different states, I think, as well, and of course in the United Kingdom, because the author is from the United Kingdom. It's Jade McGlynn. I talked to her today on air. She speaks Russian perfectly, and that book was just released a month ago. Russia's War. It's a very interesting book. It's a research about people's attitude towards war in Russia. And it's very important that it's called Russia's war, not Putin's war, because she wanted to show, first of all, not only Putin is responsible for he started this war, obviously, but I know that in Ukraine they don't like this expression. They say it's incorrect, Putin's war, Russia's war, because a lot of people in Russia, let's admit it, they support that war against Ukraine. But the title is not actually about that. The title is not about that people in Russia support the war against Ukraine. The title is about people's attitude towards war in Russia. So, how is Russia taking this war? What do people think about it? That's what she's writing about. And she is writing about, she says that the most interesting group, she divides Russian people into several groups. So there are like pro-war people, there are strongly anti-war people, those who are being arrested in Russia, and there is a group in between, like a passive group. And Jade McGlynn says that this is the most interesting group for her, because this group, this group is the most like reachable group for propaganda and for different for what government statements, narratives the Russian government is spreading, because the balance could be changed by that group. So this group can change the balance. And Jade McGlynn said, she told me today that that group can really change the balance after the situation with Prigozhin. How that passive group might become anti-regime, not anti-war, but anti-regime, as Prigozhin was. So they can raise, I don't know, physically or just in their minds, against the Russian government, corruption in the army, and the war is not going according to the plan, whatever they say on Russian TV. So that passive group can switch their position towards more like anti-regime position, and we will get another big group of people who are actually against Putin, against the current government. And how will it affect the war in Ukraine? We don't know yet. Too early to talk about that. But what we definitely can say that it will definitely weaken the moral on the Russian side. That's it's not very difficult to guess that that will happen. We don't need political analysts for that, although all of them are saying this thing, but it's very easy just to guess, because it's quite obvious, that after what happened, people will be in the army disoriented, and some of them will feel betrayed, and they were already not very motivated. Let's face it. But now they will be even less motivated. So that will be a very very important outcome. So let me read some of your questions, guys, and after that I will go to jokes and memes, and will explain some memes to you. Is this thing over? Good question. I asked yesterday a Ukrainian journalist, Valery Kalnash, political analyst, and I asked him, was it a teaser or a first episode? And he said, I do believe it was the first episode. It wasn't just a teaser. So let's wait for the second episode. I also think that it's not the end of the story. It's not the end of the story, and we will see what happened. What is going to happen, the Wagner global operations now? Also a very good question from Marcus. You probably are talking about what they do in the African countries. I didn't look into it yet, and I think actually nobody did, because we just didn't have time for that. But it will be the next question. Very, very important question, because again, I think that's where Prigozhin's money is mostly. In the African countries, and we will see how the operations are going there. Who else is there that has enough power to make a move against Putin? Nobody now, but the precedent is created by Prigozhin. So now, if some other private companies, some private military companies appear in Russia, the government will know that something like Prigozhin's rebellion might happen. So they created the case for that, the precedent, the situation. But for now, I don't think there is someone who can. But elites will definitely. They are not happy with what is going on. And again, as Ukrainian political analyst Vladimir Fisenko said, the elites will try to get rid of Putin. While Putin will try to get rid of Prigozhin, the elites will try to get rid of Putin, but not very soon, step by step, and it won't be that obvious. Can Prigozhin run for president? Oh, of course not. For now, no. Maybe he could before, but I doubt he had those ambitions. But now, no. I think he's done. It's very difficult to read the messages, because there are a lot of them. What future were Russians hoping for when they cheered Wagner? Very good question from Paul. Thank you so much for that question. I think it's hard to get into someone's head, right? But my assumption, my guess is that they were thinking just about some changes. Because the political situation in Russia became like that swamp, like in Brezhnev times, and they want some changes. They want some other leader, some real man like Prigozhin. Putin is not a real macho anymore. He's a happy grandma. I said grandma, and there was one of the Putin jokes, actually, jokes, not very funny. His jokes are not very funny at all. When he said that grandma can always be a grandpa, something like that. It's just yes, Putin is babushka. Putin is actually, maybe it's more accurate than dedushka. Thank you so much. I think he's, yes, dedushka or babushka. How will Putin respond to this disobedience? What does it mean for Wagner? I have already answered this question. Dave, what are the odds that the Rottenbergs but Prigozhin up to this? I noticed that Arkady fled to Baku instead of joining Putin in his bunker. Oh, they are trying, Rottenbergs, don't worry about them. They're trying to save their money and save their assets. And the independent Russian media called Project, I highly recommend you to read it. It's called like that, Project. You can find it, Project in Russian. They just released a huge investigation about how brothers Rottenberg are trying to hide from sanctions, hide their assets, hide their real estate, and so on, and their money, and how they avoided some sanctions, and actually successfully. I hope after that investigation they will do something with that in Europe and in the Western countries. I don't think they would be able to run a country if they can't even do that, sadly. Yes, that's true. How many oligarchs left in the last 2 days? Did they return? I actually don't know. Who will likely replace Prigozhin? Alexander is asking. Again, as I said, we will see. Maybe I think someone will replace him, because now we see the people's demand for people like that, like Prigozhin, who is a like simple guy. He was in prison. He can tell the truth without any like choosing the expressions he can use. He's cussing a lot as a real man from Russia. So they definitely want someone like that. But who instead of Prigozhin? We will see. But there is a demand. This is all about perpetuating war to keep laundering aid money. Can Russia even afford to equip more mobilized people? Hard to say. They struggled with that, but they continue the war. So apparently, others perilous. Okay, I just can't read. It's very it goes too fast. I can't read. Let me start from the end. When or is it possible for Belarus to reunite with Russia? I and the Nika, like your nickname with the question about Belarus potato army. I don't think Lukashenko wants. He wants to sit on two chairs. He wants to be independent, so called, and he at the same time he wants to keep his ties with Russia. So when it's convenient for him, he's playing in an independent role. When it's not convenient for him, he's with Russia. But I don't think he's interested in fully reuniting with Russia. How will Oh, I don't know. I can't comment on Viktor Orban. I'm sorry. Has Lukashenko taken parts of Wagner as his own personal? I already answered that question. I don't know, but maybe some parts of the company will stay in Belarus. Do you think we will see another attempt to overthrow Putin? And if so, who will it be? Again, I have already answered that question. Let me go to different jokes and memes. And by the way, you can post your favorite jokes about Prigozhin and about the situation in the chat. So first of all, I told you already about Belarus jokes, about to drift off into the sunset, to drift off to Belarus. Prigozhin drifted off to Belarus. Also, there was a very funny picture, like Russian Orthodox icons, like an icon with Lukashenko's face, and it says June 24th. It was yesterday when he announced that he took part in some negotiation, that he saved the situation. June 24th, that icon says Apple Feast of the Savior. And this is a Christian feast, religious holiday, but that apple feast was replaced by potato feast, because the symbol of Belarus is a potato. So it was like potato feast of the savior. And that was, and Lukashenko, like a saint, is a peacemaker. I said already that United States were going to send $3 million to Ukraine for popcorn, and that was a joke in the beginning. That was a good one from Russian social media, and I will need to explain it a little bit. Do you have a coup d'etat there? No, it's a private one. So État, it's a French coup d'etat, it's a French expression. État, it's a state. So do you have a coup d'etat there? So state coup, state coup. And the answer is no, a private one, because the Wagner Group is not a state company, it's a private company. And one more joke about Prigozhin. Prigozhin is saying, what will I face in case of arrest? I will just sign up again in the Wagner Group, because they were hiring people from the Russian prisons. So if he's in prison, he can go to Wagner Group again. One more joke. State Duma, the Russian parliament, passed a law giving free places in universities to members of the organization. The convoy of applicants moves in the direction of Moscow State University. A convoy of applicants, so the columns of Prigozhin. Muscovites are so greedy that they even ordered a war delivery. I said that already. Putin says it's not a war, it's a special operation. And Prigozhin says it's not a mutiny, it's a justice march. But that was actually not a joke. It was a real situation and real expressions from Putin's vocabulary and from Prigozhin's vocabulary. And that was my favorite. By the way, where's Mr. Medvedev? Where is our favorite Dmitry Medvedev? Evil plush, as they call him, with all his cussing and different interesting words he uses when he's talking about Western leaders. Where is he? When Prigozhin's columns, Wagner Group, was going through the Russian cities, Rostov-on-Don, Voronezh, and Lipetsk, the local government in Voronezh introduced the fortress plan. So some roads are blocked in the regions, were blocked in the region and in the city. So that was the name of the plan, fortress. And here I need to explain this joke for you. So the joke was, the increased fortress plan has been introduced at the Medvedev residence. So now I will explain, and then I will say this joke again. In the Russian language, fortress is крепость, and the strength of alcohol beverages is also крепость. So we have the same word for fortress and for alcohol beverages. So when we say that the increased крепость, strength plan, has been introduced at the Medvedev residence, we can assume that Mr. Medvedev is watching all this and heavily drinking, apparently, as a lot of people suspect he does, while writing his hilarious posts on Telegram channel. That was it. A lot of jokes. I can't tell you about all of them, unfortunately. But this about Medvedev was my favorite one. someone is complaining that I'm not reading the comments. I am reading the comments, and I did read some comments, but you guys write so much that I just can't keep up with that. So let me now concentrate on some of your comments. Wagner makes its money by taking natural resources of countries they help. Syrian oil fields or African diamond mines is basically colonialism. Will the countries ever get control back? I unfortunately it's on the edge of my expertise, so I can I cannot comment on this. But again, I think the focus in the next few days will be among all on the African countries and the role of Wagner Group in African countries. What are they going to do? Will he withdraw Wagner Group from African countries, or that will be his base? So that there is a lot of interest about media interest about this around this region now. So we will see and wait for the updates. How long do you think it would get? It will take. I'm sorry, for the people of the Russia to get over the Western phobia. Oh, that's a that's a big question, Eric. The thing is that um, at some point uh, there was no Western phobia in Russia, and in the early 2000s, and when by the way Medvedev was a president, Russia was pretty Western oriented, and even Putin, he wanted to be like a modern president. He wanted to. He had some. He had already this dictatorship. He always wanted, I think, in my opinion, to be a dictator. But at the same time, he wanted to keep his face. He wanted to keep the connections with the Western countries, and especially Medvedev, who you remember he took selfies and he got a new iPhone while he was visiting the United States, and he met Barack Obama, and so he was showing his favorite word was modernization. So there was no Western phobia in Russia at that time. I lived in Russia till 2013 again. But at some point, and I think it was after the Crimea annexation, they started to push this narrative about the West that wants to come to Russia and destroy everything. I mean, not physically, just destroy traditional values, corrupt everything, like to make perverts out of Russian children, and so on. So they really worked hard on creating that image of the West as some evil, the world of evil, the source of evil. And if you work on it like for years, it's inevitable that people will believe it. And you put a lot of effort into propaganda. And now the main narrative is actually, since the war started, the main narrative, it was strengthened that the narrative about the bad West, that it was not the war between Russia and Ukraine. It was the war between Russia and the Western countries. So after what happened, after how much effort was put into make people believe that the West is the source of evil, after that it's very hard to go back, because people are completely poisoned. And it's not about even politics. They're afraid of West. And some people who has never traveled, they think that something horrible is going on here, and there is no, as Putin said, you remember, there is no mom and dad anymore in the families. They say parent one and parent two. Where did he get this? I have no idea. But a lot of people think like that. people just kids are completely disoriented. They don't have normal families, traditional values, and they forbid, they hate all Russian people, Russophobia. They cancel Pushkin and Russian writers and composers and so on. And so it's just I don't even want to go into it, because people are completely poisoned by those lies for many years, and it will be extremely hard to return, to get them back, to make them sane again, and to show them that West people in the West are the same people as in Russia. So yeah, it will be very, very difficult. Um, I read that Wagner soldiers will only get amnesty if they join the Russian army. Will they do so? And is this the end of Wagner? Again, the same question. I answered it already, but the first part is interesting, and thank you for that question. Yes, I think some of former Wagners will join the Wagner group. Oh, I'm sorry. Will I'm tired already. Will join the Russian army. But as far as I know, a lot of Wagner soldiers they feel betrayed. They feel betrayed by Prigozhin, because he disappeared. We don't know where he is. He didn't. He just turned back. He didn't provide anything for his soldiers. And what are they going to do now? We don't know. So a lot of people are feeling from Wagner Group. They feel betrayed and disoriented. So I think it's likely that some of them they will join with nothing to do. They will join Russian army, and I don't know what is going to be with those prisoners. I have no idea, to be honest. Um, they need to meet them personally. You mean people from the West, Russian people? Maybe, but sometimes even that doesn't help. Is the Free Russia Legion still active? Yes, they're still active, but we didn't hear from them because sometimes they show up like in Belgorod. Or will you post the stream recording on your channel? Of course, it will be the recording. Is the general Russian public aware of the events of yesterday, or is all information blocked? No, they are fully aware. First of all, even those who watched Russian state TV, they know something. Something happened, and they heard the name of Prigozhin. But I think the majority of Russian people, they use Telegram channels. So whatever their position is, political position, are they anti-war or pro-war, they are reading their own channels according to their interests. So they got, I think, information from that source, and they were aware of what is going on. Okay, propaganda doesn't always mean a lie. Yes, but we're talking about Russian propaganda, and I do believe that Russian propaganda is some special sort of propaganda. It's like a propaganda in Nazi Germany. I can and not only me, it's but just a lot of people compare that it's some special kind of propaganda. Of course, we can tell that people in different countries might be biased. It's obvious. But if we're talking about Russia, they just create a different reality, like completely different reality and different language. But it's a topic for another stream. Are Prigozhin's wife and daughter in Russia? Nobody knows where his family is, where Prigozhin is. This is something. Okay. No war but class war. Well, that's why people called it a start of a civil war, because there we already see like different groups of people who are strongly disagree with each other, even among pro-war people. He's been watching CNN. Who was watching CNN? What do you think about Navalny? And is there a possibility for him to rule? as for Navalny, there's also a topic for another stream because I can talk a lot about that. But unfortunately, Navalny has absolutely no power. Now he's in prison. So we cannot discuss any role of Navalny uh, because he is basically like politically disabled now. He can just cannot do anything, and he can't have any effect on the situation. Mm, uh, okay, Prigozhin has told the Russian people that the reasons their government told them for the special military operation were lies. Okay, has the message of Prigozhin widely heard in Russia? Yes, I think it was highly heard. Why? I'm sorry. I'm very tired, and I'm going to wrap it up actually soon because it's hard to talk after all talking I did during last 2 days. So yes, it was widely heard. That's a problem. That's why it was a problem for Putin, because Putin, that we haven't seen Putin much after COVID. Those were huge tables with Macron when he's on the other side of the enormous table, and he was afraid of people. People were quarantined for 2 weeks to meet him, so he was not very public. He was sitting in his bunker, and but Prigozhin was very, very public, and he talked to people using their language again. He has a very specific language portrait. So Prigozhin was very, very widely heard, as you say, and he was very public. That was a problem. Um, Okay, was that a coup against Ministry of Defense or Putin himself? I think it was not a coup against Putin himself, although there was a hint that was against Putin, but different sources say that it was not against Putin. I doubt Putin ever leaves that billion-dollar mansion of his these days. Thank you very much for your stream. Okay, thank you very much for watching me, guys. I'm so sorry that I was not able to read all your comments and all your questions because I couldn't keep up. It was very difficult. And again, I apologize. I'm super tired after doing all this work since Friday evening, and I need some rest. Otherwise, if I continue the stream now, it will be useless. So thanks for watching me. uh, okay, it honestly seems like it was staged. I don't think it was staged, but we will see. Who knows? You did wonderful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You earned the break. Yes, I agree. And I will go now to watch some Ukrainian cartoon here in Washington, D.C. with my son. So thanks again for watching me. Bye.